For 6 decades, political power in Tamil Nadu was a closed loop, governed by an establishment that many considered unshakable. The DMK, led by MK Stalin, sat at the center of this system, commanding the state's entire administrative and bureaucratic machinery. Their only competition was the AIADMK. For over half a century, these two specific factions simply rotated control of the state between themselves. But by the early 2020s, a growing section of the electorate was exhausted. Allegations of systemic corruption and a reliance on cash for votes tactics had created a phenomenon known as Dravidian fatigue. Voters were no longer looking for a change in leadership. They were looking for a change in the system itself. By 2024, the state was primed for disruption. C. Joseph Vijay chose this moment to pivot from a 3-decade run as a cinematic superstar to founding the Tamilaga Vettri Kazhagam, or TVK. He didn't just rely on fame. Vijay spent years restructuring 85,000 existing fan clubs, turning a social welfare network into a disciplined, statewide ground force. The party faced immediate, life-altering challenges. A stampede at a Karur rally left 41 supporters dead, resulting in an investigation that brought Vijay himself in for hours of CBI questioning. Despite these legal and political crises, Vijay took a significant risk. He announced that TVK would not seek alliances, choosing instead to contest all 234 assembly seats alone. To compete with the established giants on his own, Vijay needed more than a famous face. He needed a highly specific, data-driven contract with the voters. He called it the Whistle Manifesto. The TVK strategy focused heavily on Gen Z, a demographic that had grown up entirely within the DMK-AIADMK cycle and felt the least loyalty to it. This chart highlights the scale of these promises. TVK pledged 500,000 government jobs, 500,000 stipendiary internships, and a 4,000 monthly aid for unemployed graduates. The data also pushes for structural educational reform, adding 100 Kamaraj's special residential schools and education loans up to 20 lakh. Most provocatively, the document called for the state to reclaim full control over education by moving it back to the state list. By framing education and employment as enforceable state obligations, TVK built the policy foundation needed to challenge the legacy parties for the youth vote. Historically, welfare for women in Tamil Nadu was often defined by the distribution of household appliances during election cycles. TVK aimed to change the frequency of that support. At the center of their pitch was a guaranteed monthly payment of 2,500 rupees for all women under 60. The manifesto included traditional safety nets, providing silk saris, gold for marriage aid, alongside gold rings and kits for newborns. To address physical security, they promised the creation of dedicated women's safety teams stationed throughout the state. By combining traditional social support with recurring monthly transfers, TVK presented a welfare model that felt more like a permanent safety net than a one-time election season gift. To win outside the urban centers, the party had to address the immediate needs of the agrarian working class. Their economic plan for rural areas was direct: full crop loan waivers for small farmers, 10,000 rupees in aid for laborers, and a guaranteed minimum support price of 3,500 rupees for paddy. But they balanced this traditional relief with a high-tech vision for the future, promising an AI city, a dedicated AI ministry, and a target to reach a $1.5 trillion state economy. Tying these disparate goals together was the doctrine of secular social justice, which promised to hold the government to legally mandated timelines for all public services. Merging aggressive rural debt relief with a modern economic target allowed TVK to appeal to both the traditional farmer and the urban professional. The impact of this strategy was clear on Election Day in April 2026, which saw a record-breaking 85.1% voter turnout as new and previously disillusioned voters arrived at the polls. The results were a shock to the system. TVK won 108 seats, becoming the single largest party and leaving the DMK and AIADMK with 59 and 47 seats, respectively. In several long-held strongholds, veteran politicians from the established parties were unseated by TVK candidates making their political debuts. The outcome signaled a shift in regional politics, suggesting that generational party loyalty was no longer a guarantee of victory. The electorate had moved toward a new model of political engagement, favoring specific, legally bound welfare contracts over the traditional party-led system. Today, Vijay is moving toward leadership of a new coalition government as the state's chief minister. The Whistle Manifesto was a successful blueprint for breaking a 60-year duopoly. But in the process, TVK has committed the state to the most ambitious policy program in its history, and now the voters are waiting for them to deliver.